what do you do? What do you do if you are, and when you are in the middle of your life's storm?
1 point with Arnold Gamboa.
Maybe you are having currently, or maybe in the past, you're having a financial storm. Especially nowadays, during our COVID situation, we have some financial struggles, and I know for some of you, you are undergoing through some financial storms. Maybe for some of you, you are undergoing through relational storm. You are undergoing through some difficulties with your relationships. Maybe you're married, you are having some difficulties, problems with your relationship with your wife, or maybe you are having problems relational with your some of your relatives. I don't know what it is, but you are probably going through some relational storms nowadays. Or maybe you are undergoing through some career difficulties, and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to deal with your career difficulties, and that is a career storm that we can consider. But for some of you, maybe it's a spiritual storm. Maybe you are struggling with your relationship with God. You are in a current life storm. Whatever it is that you are undergoing through right now, the problem with all of us today, we don't know how to deal with our life storms. Tayo dito sa Pilipinas, when it comes to actual storms, we are so used to it that whenever there's a storm that would come, I grew up in Nueva Ecija, and once in a while we would experience storms, difficult, the actual storms, no? We would experience these storms, and when we experience storms, we know how to deal with it. Kasi alam na natin, nangyayari sa atin every now and then. But when it comes to our storms in life, when it comes to how to deal with the actual storms in our lives, we are clueless. Hindi natin alam kung anong gagawin natin. Hindi natin alam kung paano i-deal yung ating actual storms in life. I'd like to share with you a passage, a story in the Bible. There's a wonderful story in the Bible about the disciples of Jesus when they encountered a storm, and this will give us an insight on what to do when we encounter a storm in our life. And this is found in Matthew chapter 8 verse 23 to 27. I'm going to be reading it from the New International Version. For those of you who are not or you do not have a physical Bible with you, you can actually download a free Bible, and this is what I recommend every single time that I'm you can download a Bible called the Bible app, YouVersion Bible app. You can also go to bible.com and you can read the Bible for free. Ito yung nakikita natin sa Matthew chapter 8 verses 23 to 27. It says, and I hope you can see this clearly on your screen. Sabi dito, then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. Yun ang medyo napapansin natin, bakit Jesus in a situation like this, in a stormy situation like this, he was sleeping. And probably we will understand later on why he is so calm and sleeping in the middle of a storm. It says, sabi ng mga disciples, Lord, save us, we're going to drown. But he replied, you of little faith, why are you so afraid? Maybe Jesus is asking us today, why are you so afraid? You have little faith. When you have these storms in your life, you are undergoing through storms in your life, why are you so afraid? Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and it was completely calm. There was a storm. Everyone is panicking, but Jesus was asleep. And when the disciples asked him, Lord, save us, do something, we're drowning, Jesus said, you of little faith, why are you so afraid? And then he rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. It was completely calm. You see, there's one thing that we can actually see in this passage. First and foremost, we can see in these passages that Jesus has control over the storms, the physical storms that happens on this planet Earth. He has control over the storms, and then you can see that he is a powerful God. Some of you may argue that Jesus is not God, and during the course of this series that we're going to be doing for every Saturday, I'm going to try to talk about this as part of our discussions about who Jesus Christ is and who he is in our lives as God in our lives. And he said, he is powerful and he can control the physical storms that happens on earth. That's how powerful he is. And so when the men in the boat saw this, they were amazed. And they said, what kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. Even the winds and the waves obey Jesus. And you see, this is really what's going on. Jesus has control over the storms in our lives too. There are times where we have financial storms, we have relational storms, we have career storms, we have some spiritual storms that we are undergoing through right now. Our natural tendency, our normal tendency is we find a new job, we try to find new relationships, we try to create new goals in life, and maybe, just maybe, new job or new relationships or new goals in life is not the answer to your problem. Maybe the answer to your problem is to ask the question. This is our 1.4 today. We need to ask ourselves, what is Jesus' role in the middle of my life storm? What is Jesus' role in the middle of my life storm? Because the reality is that when we have some problems, when we have some issues with our job, with our relationships, we are having some problems with our career, the natural tendency is to just run away from God and try to solve it on ourselves. So a new job is probably the right thing to do, or a new goal in life is probably the right thing to do, or a new relationship is probably the right thing to do. But maybe before we answer those questions, or maybe we try to solve those questions, we need to lay the foundation first. We need to ask ourselves who Jesus Christ is in the midst of all of these situations. Who is Jesus Christ in our lives? That should be your foundation, because everything else will follow when we have the right relationship with God. When we have the right relationship with Jesus, if Jesus is at the very center of everything that we do. So ask yourself this question: what is Jesus' role in the middle of my life storm? Because when you answer that question correctly, you have the foundation, and then everything else, every other question in your life will then be answered.
1 point with Arnold Gamboa.